Thank you, Deputy Clerk. I would like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to our Police Service Board, August 9th. This is our last meeting at this term of council, and I want to say it's been a pleasure being your chair with this term. And so we'll move on to see what happens with the election. I call the meeting to order. I'm going to start off with reading our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi nations who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. I further give thanks to Chippewa Saugeen and Chippewa Nawas, now known as Saugeen Ojibwe nations, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also recognize the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Moving on to our agenda. Is there any add-ons to our agenda here today? Seeing none. The recommendation is that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Barry, second by Peter. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, a show of hands, all in favor? It's carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. You can clear any time you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Police Service Board meeting held on June 8th, 2022 be approved. Moved by Peter, second by Barry. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Show of hands, all in favor? It's carried. Barry, could you please put your hand out in front of your face, then I can see it? Thank you. Moving on. We've no delegations here today. Madam Deputy Clerk, was there anything from the public? No. We've no correspondence. We're now down to reports and recommendation, and I believe Staff Sergeant Wilcox, are you going to give the report?
Good afternoon. Actually, Inspector Richardson is going to give the report. He's having some technology issues, and he's doing his best to log on right now. So I'll just touch base with him and see how he's making out.
Okay, thank you. Madam Deputy Clerk, do we need to take a 5-minute break? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and see if we can get the commander on the line. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. Welcome, Commander. Can you hear me?
Thank you. My apologies for the delay. Gremlins and Murphy are well at play here in Chatsworth today.
Welcome to the meeting. Please go ahead with your report.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. I apologize. I thought I would start with a brief introduction of myself, if with everybody's approval, because I'm sure not everybody is familiar with me and my history with the OPP and with policing, but I thought I'd take an opportunity just to do a brief introduction, let everybody know that my experience. I've been a police officer for 21 years. All of my policing experience relates to detachment for the most part. I've worked in crime, street crime, marine, traffic. I'm never so bold as to say I've done it all, because that's when, again, Murphy comes along and reminds you that you haven't done it all, but I've tried to experience everything there is to experience at a detachment. I've been a frontline sergeant in Bruce Peninsula and South Bruce. I've been a staff sergeant in both, or in South Bruce as an operations manager, and Bruce Peninsula as a detachment commander, and Bancroft as a detachment commander. Just prior to coming to Grey Bruce, I was detachment commander in Wellington County, which is one of the largest detachments in the province and largest municipal contract. And Grey Bruce isn't far behind, to be honest. What attracted me back to Grey Bruce is the fact that I reside in Bruce County, and my family lives here, and I wanted to come back to the area that I'm familiar with and comfortable with. In addition to my inspector duties at detachment, I'm also a public order unit commander. You may have seen some of our public order activities in Ottawa and Windsor. One of my duties is to serve as a commander to those members who serve in those positions. And I'm also a critical incident commander, so I work with our tactical teams in high-risk situations such as barricaded persons with weapons or hostage situations, and I lend my command services to those teams as well. So that's just a little bit of a history of me and my history to the area. And I welcome any questions of me, and then I'll carry on with the report if it serves.
Thank you very much for that update. Sound like you're well qualified. I see there's something different with you. The last time I met you, Commander, you have glasses?
I had them then too. I just take them on and off, and when I'm reading, I have to have the glasses on, or you won't get a fulsome report, I guarantee you.
Does the board have any questions of the commander?
No, just welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we welcome you to back to Grey Bruce.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Please
Well,
go ahead, Commander, with your report.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So moving into the report, I noticed the calls for service are at about 1,617 specific to Georgian Bluffs. It's I note no significant difference or statistical difference in the calls for service. It's fairly consistent with years past, although we continue to monitor that. I always like to point out the 911 hangups, and forgive me if you've heard this story before, but we implemented a new process within our call taking services that has significantly reduced the number of 911 hangups we attend. That process has freed up a lot of time for our frontline officers and reduced billable calls for service. And you'll notice that there's only been 8 to this point this year, as compared to 2018 when there was 106 and 2019 when there was 152. Significant reduction, significant benefits to our communities, putting our officers back in the communities, not responding to those calls, but performing their other duties within the communities. I looked at our crime statistics. The sexual assaults are fairly consistent. What I was pleased to see is the assaults seem to be down significantly, and anytime we can have a reduction in violent crimes in our communities, it's always got great benefit to the members of our communities, and the peripheral impacts of assaults are significant. So to see that down, I was very pleased to see that. I moved over to the property crimes. I noticed a significant reduction in property crimes as well. Property crimes are probably one of the more difficult things we investigate, believe it or not, because it relies a lot on physical evidence, and it can be transient in nature. So we try a lot of education when it comes to property crimes. Pocket your keys, lock it or lose it. Our auxiliary program will deliver education on how to fortify your properties to avoid being victimized. So I'm pleased to see that some of those things are having an effect and property crimes are down. Although obviously we continue to monitor that to make sure there are no spikes or increases that we need to address. Consistent with the assaults, our domestic disputes are down as well. And again, that just goes back to those types of investigations, those types of occurrences have significant impacts on families and communities. So to see a reduction is, I'm very happy to see that. Moving over to our crime unit. Our crime unit has been particularly busy with a number of serious investigations. We continue to support the West Grey Police Service with the homicide that occurred in their area. The suspect was located in our area and arrested as a result. We continue to conduct a number of our own serious investigations. So those investigations are very complex. They take a lot of resources, a lot of intellect, a lot of dedication. The crime unit continues to deal with those quite effectively. Moving over to community street crime, I did want to note the return of Detective Sergeant James Blair. I've had the pleasure of working with Detective Sergeant Blair over the years in many capacities. He brings extraordinary knowledge and skill to the position. So we're happy to have him return from the duties he was assigned to before. One investigation of note was where there were some cars and stolen trailers, stolen pickup truck recovered for a value of $179,500. Property crimes, much like any crime, don't know any boundaries. They don't know any borders. So it impacts all of our communities, and to have the dollar value and the assets recovered that this unit is recovering, I'm thrilled to be able to report on that. A truly dedicated group of professionals that work hard to address not only property crime, but to address issues of opioid addiction and opioid issues in our communities as well. And we're all very well aware of the impacts of those. And then moving through, impaireds are down slightly, or impaired convictions are down slightly, but those tend to fluctuate through the years, and we'll just keep an eye on that. Obviously, impaired driving is of great concern to us in policing. It's one of the most dangerous things that you can experience. So we continue to watch that. I wanted to touch on our suspect apprehension pursuits, or pursuits as they're commonly known. They're down significantly. Again, a suspect apprehension pursuit, or a pursuit, is one of the most dangerous things for our officers, most importantly for our communities, particularly when they're done at high speed. So to see that reduction and see that we're using alternate tools to not only identify our offenders, but prosecute our offenders who engage in those types of pursuits. So I guess not to diminish it, but there's more than one way to skin a cat sometimes, and we may not get you today, but we generally make every effort to get you in the future if we don't get you today. So to see those down, it's a great benefit to the community, but it doesn't mean that we don't follow up later with some people who we don't engage in pursuits with. I wanted to talk about our media, and I've talked to a number of boards about this. One of the strategies that we want to implement is, and we are beginning to implement, is leveraging the benefits of social media. The way media is consumed now by the general populace is different than it once was. There's an immediacy to the consumption of media, and that's done through social media platforms. So I'm not sure if you've seen some of Nick Wilson's latest releases, but he's done a very good job of professionally representing the organization and our communities and delivering media messages with some immediacy through social media platforms. It doesn't change the way we've done business in the past. We continue to produce media releases and supply those through traditional formats to our print media and to media outlets. But we're recognizing that our communities want to know what's going on, so we try and get the information out as soon as we can through our social media platforms. It lends itself to the wellness of the community. If they have the information and they know what we're engaged in and that there isn't a risk to public safety, it just helps them feel a little safer in their communities. So again, we continue to do the traditional forms of media, but we're looking to enhance our social media presence for the benefits of all. And I wanted to talk about our auxiliary unit. As we emerge out of COVID, even on the precipice of maybe more COVID challenges, although I think it's leveling, our auxiliary unit is fully engaged, again, in our detachments and in our municipalities. I have a special place for the auxiliary members because it consists of volunteers. And so many things in our communities and our municipalities rely on volunteers. And this particular group of volunteers dedicates an awful lot of time to supporting the safety of our communities. They engage in training, they ride along with our officers, they go to special events. And I'm just thrilled to see them back in action and back supporting everybody in the communities. They do great work, and particularly I've been in a number of detachments. The seniority of our auxiliary unit is somewhat unique. We have a lot of truly dedicated, long-time, long-serving auxiliary members. There are those who use the, I don't want to say use, but participate in the auxiliary program to gain experience to become a police officer. And that's a great function for the program. But additionally, we have a number of members who have no interest in being police officers. They just want to support their communities, and we're so fortunate to have them. They do great work. So I just wanted to point out the benefits of that unit and the work that they do. And that's the highlight of the report. I always give my boards the credit for being able to read the report themselves, and I just touch on the highlights and then leave plenty of time for questions.
Thank you, Paul. It's a great report. We always enjoy them. Does the board have any questions of the commander? Peter, please go ahead.
Hello. I just I wanted to get your view on the telephone fraudulent type crime that goes on, if how involved the OPP are. I just wanted to pass on a quick one. The other day, my wife's phone rang, and it was usually if it's a CRA, it's like a 1-800 or out of the blue number you wouldn't recognize. This one was Visa Canada calling, and she doesn't have a Visa, she has MasterCard. So right away we started to chuckle, and then it was, but what caught me was it was a local line. It was a 519-372, which is known to the Owen Sound area. And I just wondered if you could make any comment, or how, I mean, these people must be very difficult to track and get hold of and convict. But I just wondered, I found that call quite interesting to be with a local touch.
Yeah, it's they're using computer as much as technology is a benefit. It can be a bit of a curse at times, because there's technology exists to, spoof phone numbers or create phone numbers to make it look like the call is coming from a local place. And to your point, they're very difficult to track and convict. And that's why quite often we focus on the education portion of it and try to arm people with education before they have an opportunity to be victimized by these unscrupulous people. But they do have technology that can spoof local phone numbers and make it appear, or attempt to make it appear a little more legitimate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. Barry, any comments?
Yeah, it's a question I'd like to, this fentanyl that's going around, I think I heard in the news last week, there's about 4 people in Owen Sound that overdosed in this. Do you find that's increasing in our area, or like it's quite concerning that there's so much drugs out there, and how do you track that, or tips lines, or how do you do that?
So we took a well, there's legislation now that allows people to seek medical attention without legal repercussion. So it's called the Good Samaritans Act. So you can call for somebody who's overdosing, they can get medical attention, and we won't take action for any sort of breaches or criminal responsibility that way, with obviously the goal being people being healthy. In our organization, we have focused more on the suppliers of drugs as opposed to the end users of drugs. So if we can stop the supply of drugs, it certainly helps. We've also engaged in partnerships with public health and local health professionals. And we put out a lot of education for those who may be participating in drug use to make sure that they're aware if there's what we call a batch of fentanyl out there that is causing overdoses. Additionally, all of our officers they carry naloxone, which is an anti-opioid, and that can be delivered to people to keep them safe. But more specific to your problem or to your question, it is a bit of a problem. It is a challenge, and it has increased over the years. There's no doubt about it. Through my career in policing, there's been an increase in the use of opioids and the effect of opioids and the severity of opioids. The treatment of the end user as more of a medical issue seems to be giving us some success and allowing us to redirect our resources to the supplier as opposed to the user. So I hope that speaks to your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Thank you. It just gets disturbing that, a lot of us out there, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Barry. Commander, you're probably aware of a triathlon event that's happening in Grey Road 1, August the 14th from 9 till 3, and goes right up through the center of our municipality. It may cause a wee bit of a panic putting this into this particular road. Grey Road 1 is a very busy road, and I just wanted to make you aware of it. I'm quite sure you're well aware of it.
Yes, we are, and I'll just, I believe we have some, and Staff Wilcox is on the line, but I believe we have some resources dedicated to that already, but I'll just follow up on that.
No, I just want to make you aware of it. I'm quite sure you are, but
Yeah.
it is going to be quite an event. Yeah,
And I'm familiar with Grey Road 1 as well. It's, it's used as another thoroughfare as well as has a road design. It's a beautiful road, but it is busy.
Yeah, we have a purple car and a yellow car that use it for a speedway. But you'll get them sooner or later.
We'll get them for sure.
Is there any other questions of the commander on his report? Well, thank you very much. Good job on your first report to the board.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm going to move on to the agenda. We're down to new business. Before you come on the line, Commander, I was pointing out to everybody, this is our last meeting of this board, Police Service Board, till after the election. So we will have a new board in place. But I'm wondering, can you make any comment on the province and their new wisdom of putting one Police Service Board for this detachment area and so on? Any comment on that?
So I bring with me experience of I'll go back to what I think the intention is. I think the intention is one detachment, one board. And I do see benefit in that. And the reason I say that is I came from Wellington County, that is its governance is at the county level. So it's one board for the detachment area. What is experienced in one municipality is also experienced in the municipality next door. So to bring everybody together to share their experience, it enhances partnerships, it enhances collaboration. I think it provides an opportunity for sharing. Resources aren't infinite in policing, and there's a recognition that they're not necessarily, frankly, cheap either. So the ability to bring a collaboration together and maybe share some resources and share experience and share partnerships, I think there's an opportunity to leverage that for the benefit of our communities. I recognize that it's a change. It's a change from the way business has been done for a long, long time. And there will be growing pains. There will be growing pains, but I think there are opportunities here. And as long as we continue to do exactly what we're doing here and have the relationships that we have and that I make myself and my command team available to the municipalities, so we continue to have the interaction that we have the relationships that we have, and work together towards public safety and the benefits of our community, I think it can be successful. I think you get out of it what you put into it, and as long as we keep providing the dedication that we're all providing, I think it will be successful. Admittedly, there'll be growing pains and we'll have to figure some things out, but I think there will be success.
Thank you, Commander, for your wise words. Does the board have any questions of the commander at this present time? Seeing none, our next meeting will be of our new council, December 6th at 9 o'clock. Welcome, Staff Sergeant Wilcox and Commander for attending today. So if there's no other business here today, I'll ask for adjournment of this meeting. Moved by Barry, second by Peter. If there's no discussion, let's show of hands, all in favor of adjournment. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It was a pleasure seeing everybody.
See you later.